Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about the recent Lex Fridman podcast where he had Mark Zuckerberg on. They talked about a number of things. But the first 45 minutes or so were reserved solely for the Metaverse, which included Mark's vision, perspective, and predictions surrounding its growth. So I'll give you a summary of that. So let's just hop in. On Lex's podcast, the first bit was a bit of a light chit chat regarding simulation theory, where they considered whether or not the conversation that they were having was just a digital recreation of an original conversation that might have happened a long time previously. So that was funny. Then after that, they got into the juicy stuff. So Mark talked about how he expects photorealistic avatars sometime in the future, in less than 40 years, but he didn't expand on that. He talked about his philosophy and considerations of the advantages of the metaverse. One foundational advantage, of course, being the feeling of presence and embodiment that you don't get on the current iteration of the internet. He talked about how he likes spatial audio and how he considers it immersive. Spatial audio, for those who don't know, it's the type of audio that gives you the idea that a user is near you. So if someone was next to you in VR, then it would sound like they're next to you, whatever side they might be on, left or right, and distance as well it takes into account. He talked about Horizon workrooms and has noted its added immersion for meetings. An existing thing they talked about was that Meta is working on their own haptic gloves, though he didn't give details on that. He thinks that within the next 10 years, there will be tons of building blocks and breakthroughs for additional sensory input devices and peripherals. On a side note, not mentioned by Mark, but what I think gives credence to the idea that this is true is a tech startup Emerge and its recent announcement of the Emerge Wave 1, which is a panel that pairs with your headset and emits ultrasonic waves to let users feel virtual objects and sensations, which I thought was pretty awesome. And so I think we'll see tons of cool peripheral devices for added sensory input in the near future. Hopefully that allow for interoperability and customization in adding to different types of headsets. But in the meantime, while these breakthroughs in hardware happen, Mark and I and Lex both all believe that a lot can be done in the software side of things, since that's still new too. Certain things, for instance, at a software level that can add to the immersion and getting things right, such as decisions about whether or not to have arms or floating hands, will matter. That was an example he gave because Meta had initially experimented with having arms, though they found that the position of elbows and things can't effectively be tracked yet. And that just floating hands turned out to not affect immersion to any significant degree. Another thing is that eye tracking hardware is disseminated into devices coming soon, the next Quest. And he pointed out that that's a big focus that they worked on for the coming Quest. They have the money to prioritize hardware evolution. A lot of companies don't, so they plan to utilize that privilege and put a lot of effort on that side of things. He also, Mark did, tried to clear up some misconception about people's idea about the metaverse. He said a lot of people think that the metaverse is about a place, which it is to some degree, but one definition is that it's about a time when basically immersive digital worlds have become the primary way that we live our lives and spend our time. This was a direct quote from him. He thought that was an interesting way to think about it, especially in terms of the growth of the metaverse and when it will really hit its stride. Lex asked how long will that be, or how long until that happens? And Mark replied, a lot of use cases really can determine that. When building tech, you're fighting on a number of different fronts because a lot of people do different things in any given digital medium. The ones they went after first were social experiences and gaming, but now they're also putting a lot of focus into knowledge work and meeting use cases. They want meetings, coding, and writing to be a better experience in VR than in the real world because he thinks that if it's a better experience, and people are more productive, people will want to be there, and that'll be how it grows. He doesn't think this is more than 5 years off. Lex pointed out that he loves and gets excited about stepping into virtual worlds. I'm absolutely with him. I think that's common among those who are VR enthusiasts. It's maybe the sole reason that a lot of people use VR to really escape into different places that they've never been to. And this led to a talk between the two about how those worlds can be built. Mark talked about the idea for a potential, and I think it's in prototype stage, BuilderBot program, which would allow you to speak what you want into reality, telling the program to put trees, blankets, bottles, picnic baskets where you want it. I liken this to the Matrix loading program where Neo asks for guns. Lots of guns. Lex asked, what can I be? Can I be a troll or whatever I want to be? Can I be a dragon? Mark pointed out that, there should be flexibility, and, there's a spectrum between cartoonish, photorealism. There's an axis of what you want to represent. Do you want it to be you? Do you want it to be, what you want to be? Your fantasy identity. You might want to be a photorealistic dragon, for instance. And you might gain experientially, for instance, in a war game like Onward, from having photorealism. That might be more immersive. It can be an icebreaker in things like VR chat, where you might be something funny and that leads to a conversation, or maybe it's a fun fandom. So there's a lot really that you can do there. After that, they spoke a bit about the economy in VR. I call it metaversal commerce. That's my word for it. Why wouldn't people spend money there? Mark asked. They spend money on clothes in the real world to look a certain way, so why wouldn't they there? I personally think there will be a standard mechanism or data format like JSON, where maybe a specific implementation of JSON so that you could move between experiences and maybe have your style change based on clothing packs or whatever you've bought. Maybe it's linked to the blockchain. After that, they talked a bit about like impersonation and how you can maintain your identity and let people know it's actually you. Mark Zuckerberg talked a bit about security and how decentralization is not always the best thing. Sometimes centralization is good, for instance, for storing your backup data. You lose your phone or password. If you don't have it backed up somewhere in some cloud or some other centralized location, it's gone forever. Alternative would be a blockchain where it's public, but if you want it private, that might be tough. You lose your private key. That's it for your wallet when it comes to cryptocurrency wallets that aren't stored on an exchange like Coinbase. So there's a bit of give and take when it comes to that stuff, in my opinion. I completely agree with him there. Lex talked about, jokingly, kind of, Lex, it's hard to tell sometimes, open sourcing his avatar so there could be an army of Lexes. Mark likened this to the thought of a bunch of Smiths like in the Matrix. Lex with a suit brings that to mind for me too. Lex commented that regarding clones, he has serious concerns that they might outperform him. That's classic, hilarious. So if you want to see the whole interview, links below. That was just a brief summary though. But that's all I want to talk about today. If you enjoyed the content, please support the channel by subscribing. Give me a like if you liked it. I'll be sharing some updates in a month or so regarding a decentralized app that I've been working on that is going to be part of the Metaverse, and it's going to be related to the Hive blockchain. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you again next time on the Metaverse Update. Bye.